Good evening. I am Priscilla Lund. I am the chair of the organization called A4Art, or Advocates for Visual Arts Education. I arrived in Bozeman about 30 years ago and was very impressed with the arts community that Bozeman offered. However, I quickly realized after teaching at the university in the art education area that our schools were very robust in their curriculum in middle school and high school, but in the elementary schools or the younger students, there wasn't a coherent curriculum. So I thought, what can we do about this? What are some of the things that I could do as a university teacher, professor, who is preparing teachers to teach in our public schools? What could I do about this? How could I change this missing link for young learners? So, a couple years ago, some of us got together. There were other people in the community who shared my concerns. We got together and decided to build a nonprofit. And so I'd like to introduce the board members who have joined me in this endeavor. Our first person who I'd like to introduce is Chaucer Silverson. He is our financial officer and has helped us through some of the more challenging issues that a nonprofit needs to go into, especially a first year or second year nonprofit. So thank you, Chaucer. Our secretary or communications director is Mary Ann Fiu, and you'll be hearing from her in a few moments. She's also our guest speaker for this evening. And then we also have several members at large joining us for this presentation. Mary Ann Kelly. Kelly is someone who I have known for over 30 years, and we have shared our interest in the visual arts and learning in the Bozeman community. Also, another person who's on the board is May Schlotzhauer, and she is going to be sharing with Kelly this evening some of the updates that they have made to our website in recent months. So we can look forward to that report as well. And then Paul Waldom. He is currently teaching art education courses at MSU and has been working with A4Art for several years now. We have established what you might call a partnership between Paul, his students, and our nonprofit. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that is happening in the more recent times. So I guess we will continue with our exploration of how advocates for the visual arts education can make an impact in our community, especially not just Bozeman, but also the entire Gallatin Valley. So I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, Mary Ann, who has prepared a presentation. And so she can give us an overview to help us understand where have we been and where would we like to go. Mary Ann? Mary Ann, your microphone is not on.
Hi, everybody.
Got it? Okay, thank you.
Tonight, I'm going to mostly be talking to you about the school that I work at, which is Montfortin School. I'm a certified art specialist there, and I've learned a lot through that process, and so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that tonight. And then later on in the presentation, we're going to be talking about things that A4Art has done and plans to do. So looking forward to telling you about my school. So Montfortin Elementary School visual arts program that I teach is a kindergarten through 4th elementary. Mm-hmm. Next. And to put it into perspective, in the Gallatin Valley, in visual arts education in elementary, we've done some research with A4Art. That's a project that we did in the last year, doing some research trying to figure out sort of the demographics of who is getting art education in the elementary school. So there are 16 school districts in the Gallatin Valley, 25 elementary schools. And within all of those elementary schools, there is only one full-time certified art teacher hired by the district. And that happens to be me. So I'm going to be talking about that. And some of the districts offer art to the elementary school students taught by classroom teachers. Others fundraise through parent groups to hire art teachers privately, and some do both. So students are getting some visual arts education at these schools. It's just not something that is actually provided by the school. Some of the elementary schools in the Valley have no visual arts classes at all. Two of the largest districts in Bozeman and Belgrade, the two largest districts, Bozeman and Belgrade, don't presently employ any elementary visual art teachers. And several of the smaller districts have part-time certified visual art teachers. And one district reported to us that it plans to hire a certified art teacher in the next 2 to 3 years. So that kind of gives you a sense of the lay of the land for the visual arts education in the Gallatin Valley. So next. Montfortin School has 389 students, about in the elementary, middle school, there's 280. And it's one of the fastest growing districts. And all of the elementary school kids get 1 hour a week of art education throughout the year and throughout their entire elementary career. And the middle school students get 2 hours of visual arts instruction taught by a certified art teacher as well throughout the year. So, and throughout their entire 4 years, because our school is 5th through 8th, the middle school. So they get 2 hours all throughout the year for their entire 4 years. Next. So I'm going to be talking about the benefits of a certified art teacher. Why have a certified art teacher? Why not just hire a professional artist or someone in the community? Those are some of the things that have been chosen to offer education, but why a certified art teacher? So next. Before I go into that, I'm going to talk about the assumptions that we have placed in our A4Art bylaws. We just assume, and I'm going to read this, the human impulse to create visual art is universal. The visual arts have been a way to communicate beliefs and express ideas about the human experience throughout all stages of civilization and in every region of the world. So we underlying this notion of giving art education to the kids or offering it is the notion that this is a vital part of a foundational education. Okay, next. And the rationale of why teach young kids, art. That's another question. I mean, we have to address that. Like, why is that important? So in our bylaws, we state a sustained visual arts education teaches children focus, perspective, self-directed and engaged learning, innovation, imagination, and critical thinking. It builds a student's confidence and resilience by encouraging creative problem solving. Visual arts literacy serves a vital role in the development of lifelong learning skills necessary to live a full and productive life. Learning through the visual arts offers a vital opportunity for students to connect to community, history, and world cultures. Next. So I'm going to go through some of the components of what we do at Montfortin Elementary. So as a certified teacher, I am paid by the district, and I feel like I'm a valued and informed member of the teaching staff. I'm able to know about students' individual education plans. I'm able to know about their families. I know a lot about what they've been like as students in the past, and some of types of information that if you're just a teacher that teaches as a specialist in the schools privately, then you're really not privy to any of that information. A visual arts teacher that's certified is also trained as a teacher, not just an artist. So those are obviously really important skills that you need to have as a teacher. You can't just be a really amazing artist. You do need to know some of the things that go into assessing and, you know, having classroom management plans and things like that. Also, a certified teacher teaches to the state and national standards. And so they are required to make sure that they're covering all that are in those national standards. Next. So some of the things that have been really positive in my career is developing relationships over the years. I have the luck of being able to teach the kids throughout their entire elementary career. So I see them as kindergartners and then all the way until they're in 4th grade. I used to teach kindergarten through 8th, in which case I was able to really know the kids over a very long period of time. So now I am actually teaching the child of one of my students, and that's how old I am. But that, you know, is a real great way of knowing your community. So this little girl in the picture, I know still, she's in high school now. She developed over the years as an artist. And when she was in 7th grade, she designed the poster for the poster contest and she won for our Montfortin Art and Culture Fair. So that was really exciting to be able to see her growing. Next. And this is another student, a good example of somebody I saw grow up over the years and who we developed a nice relationship, and the entire class really felt like a great unit. So that's one of the benefits of having a teacher that sticks around and that is part of the teaching staff. Next. Next slide. The curriculum is planned to be developmentally appropriate, built sequentially, and I am on to the next slide, so I've gotten myself a little bit behind here, but I wanted to show you how the curriculum develops over the years that the child is in elementary school. So if we're looking at collage, for example, kids are learning how to cut with scissors and glue with glue sticks, all things that we take for granted, but take a lot of learning and skills. So next slide. This is a collage that was just made in my classroom recently, and this is my cute monster laughing. So this is the possibilities for a child to be able to use collage to express themselves. Next, in kindergarten. Collage in 1st grade is evolving into more of a collaborative experience, and the kids learn to work together, and they've already learned the skills, and they start to be able to build in this project, a panorama collage. Next. And in 2nd grade, we're doing an Eric Carle collage. So the kids are now painting their own paper and creating a universe for themselves out of painted paper. Next. These are some examples of the collages that are made by the second graders. Next. And you can see they're becoming a little more sophisticated. And here the collage is by third graders, and what they're exploring positive and negative space. And the next slide will show how the kids are exploring that positive and negative space in different ways. So each child can see it in a very different way. It's not a prescriptive curriculum. It allows the child to be creative. Next. And collage in fourth grade is going to be more about perforations in the paper, because we're learning about the Indonesian shadow puppets, and it's all about the way the light flows through the paper in that type of art. So we learn about the Indonesian shadow puppets, how they're made, how they're used in theater, and then we explore that same kind of perforated paper to make puppets. So next slide will show the creation of the puppets. They have to figure out the animation and how to move and articulate the puppet. And in the next slide, you can see a few of the puppets that the kids have made. And they really do work as shadow puppets. They cast a really lovely shadow. Next. So I'm not going to go through all of the different materials we use, but this would be just an example of fibers or weaving through the years, a curriculum that starts with paper weaving and then continues on to weaving on a plate, weaving with straws, weaving on a loom, and in fourth grade, the kids make a woven pouch. Next. And this type of curriculum that develops over the years is practiced in drawing, painting, traditional arts, ceramics, construction, and mixed media. Next. We also have a very vigorous IEFA program at our school, the Indian Education for All, and all the kids in all the grades learn about the visual arts and Indian education in India Education for All. I've had some guest speakers and guest visiting artists, such as Bill Mendoza, who came and taught the kids about beading and porcupine quilling on tiny little projects that they actually were able to complete with porcupine quills, and that was wonderful. Birdie Real Bird came, she's at the bottom, and she showed us all of her beaded work and helped us figure out how to do a small, tiny little area of beading, which then resulted in the larger project on the right, which was a cradle board, and all made by the sixth graders. At that time, that was an older group of kids, but that's an example of an Indian Education for All project. And you can see the little beading up there. All the kids did some Lakota colored inspired beading. And then we also have always done a project that relates to Indian parfleche, which is up in the upper right-hand corner. And Shane Doyle has come and helped us a lot over the years because his kids are at Montfort School, and Shane is also Lakota and has been just really wonderful for our program. Next. So basically what we can say about our kids in elementary is that by the end of elementary, they really are proficient in the language of art, of visual art, in terms of creating, presenting, connecting, and responding, which are our anchor standards in the visual arts. Next. And with this solid foundation, we can then do a lot of art enrichment. And I think that's the place where I want to compare our school to other schools, because what you're going to see next, the enrichment that we do, is in most cases in the elementary schools in this Gallatin Valley, some of the only things that they do. So I'll talk about that in the next slides. Next. Oops, that might not be quite right. So I know other schools go on art field trips, like this one that's offered by the Emerson schools, the Emerson Cultural Center. I think it's called Children in the Schools program, something like that. And that might be the only thing kids do at their school in the visual arts, but this is something that we can add on to our program. Next. Also, at other schools, maybe they're only getting visiting artists, but we are adding visiting artists to our program. Next. We also have in past years offered a gifted in art after school program. So that's something on top of their art education that they get. And we actually were able to tackle Ukrainian Easter eggs, which is a very, very labor intensive type of process that involves fire. So you would never be able to do that in the classroom, right? Next. Summer school, we've been able to integrate art into the summer school and do school beautification projects. This is one we just did this summer, where we built 3 larger than life-sized flowers on the outside of one of our entranceways, right by the kiln room. Next. And we have an art and culture fair, where we, in past years, have been able to have lots and lots and lots of kids, hundreds and hundreds of kids and their families come to make art for an entire evening, have dinner together, and learn about the arts. Next. And fundraising allows us not to pay for our visual art specialist, but to be able to buy equipment for our program. So we've bought kilns, we've bought slab rollers, we've bought the entire room that the kiln is in, which cost $15,000. We were able to fundraise for, so that we are able to have a kiln at our school. Next. And that is where I end. So thank you so much for listening to me and my inability to talk clearly when I teach all day long. And I'm really happy to be able to share what we do at Montfortin. Thanks for listening. You're muted. Priscilla, you're muted, I think.
There we go. I didn't do that. Anyway, yeah, I never mute myself. But one of the things your presentation does is really captures some of the language that we use on our website, especially in the rationale, where it states visual arts literacy serves a vital role in the development of lifelong learning skills. And I think a lot of the projects that you showed us in your presentation indicate that. And also a necessary way to live a full and productive life. Learning through the visual arts, and all of your students learn a lot, not just about art materials, but about patience, collaboration. And I've seen some of these things personally. So, you know, what you're doing really captures a lot of what we want to do with advocates for arts. Also, very important that I noticed in your presentation is that you provide your students with a vital opportunity to connect with your community, history, and world cultures. I mean, you captured all of those important items that we state in our rationale. So thank you so much, Marianne, for sharing that with us. That presentation is a treasure. And I'd also like to thank Mike Silverson, who was the master of making our Zoom meeting come together and actually assisted with the way the presentation was delivered to all of us. So thank you again, Mike.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so now that we've kind of got a platform of what Advocates for Art means and what it can look like, I guess, is, since we're all very visual people, what does our organization look like? And I think Marianne's presentation did a lovely job of capturing that for us. So one of the things that we're currently doing right now is trying to put together a series of what I like to call signature projects. And the first one, or actually it's the second one, is sketchbooks. And so Chaucer and Kelly have taken the lead on a sketchbook project that we piloted earlier this year. And so I'm going to ask them to give us a summary of how the sketchbook project happened and what did we learn from it?
That's great. Thanks, Marianne, and thanks, Priscilla and Mike. The sketchbook project started off, well, I started working with A4Art in 2019, in November of 2019. And obviously very, very soon after that, we had a pandemic, and COVID shut down a lot of schools and businesses. And we were looking for A4Art. We were looking for ways to proceed with our vision and our mission. Meanwhile, in the news, Haven is a local organization that does a lot of work with domestic violence. Since 1979, they've been working on that in Bozeman. And during the pandemic, COVID impacts to the economy and the domestic crisis increased dramatically. It was in the news, and so we at A4Art recognized the need to provide some immediate art resources for kids K through 12 in need during these times. Something that would be quick, something that would bypass politics, programming, and just provide some direct art materials to students who need them. So this led to the development of this pilot program, the sketchbook project. Haven agreed to administer the distribution of these sketchbooks to kids in need. A4Art, we secured funding through First Security Bank, and we ordered materials, assembled kits in zippered pouches with masks on, of course, and came up with nearly 100 packets of art supplies for 4 different age groups, abilities, and interests. One pack, for example, had, Mike, you can click through some of these. I think it'll show some of these packets. Well, here's a little deal on Haven. So there were one set of supplies had washable color markers for younger students. One set had permanent color markers for any age students. And then there were 2 types of notebooks with black and white pens for older students. And this just gave, we feel like it provided an opportunity for kids to have something going on where they could be creative during the pandemic. So I guess the pandemic was also sort of a crisis of creativity, and we tried to fill some of that void. Haven has distributed these notebooks to students throughout this summer, and the project is now complete. We're just wrapping things up, so this is a great opportunity for us to present what we've been up to. It's on the verge of becoming a signature project for A4Art. We've had a lot of interest from stakeholders, participants, and recipients. And for anybody interested in getting involved in A4Art, this is a great way to do that and get a pretty rewarding experience out of it. And as a result of the project, we do want to thank First Security Bank for their financial support and Haven for their work providing safe environments for survivors of domestic violence.
Yeah, Chaucer, I think I'll just add, thanks for coming up with this idea and getting it going and seeing it to the end. And I think we felt that we were really meeting the need of children that were in crisis in this community during COVID and during their displacement, and giving them a place where they could build their confidence, express their ideas, maybe have a place to reflect on what was happening, and kind of know that somewhere out there in the community, people valued what they think and what they do and what they draw. And because of the confidentiality, we can't share those images. But we hope it's a place that we can develop more, because we've seen this happen before with students. They love journals, they love sketchbooks, and we would like to build sponsorship for the future for different age groups, different schools in the Gallatin Valley, maybe even with some of our MSU students who are studying art education. So that's a project that you need to be on the lookout for. That's it.
So there you go. If anybody has any questions, let us know.
Okay, are there any questions? So we would like to start this series of what I call signature assignments. And there was a signature assignment that we did, Marianne, it was January, February of 2020 at Story Mansion. And if you'd like more information about that project, it's on our website. There's some information about it on our website. I'm not sure if we have time or the resources to share it tonight, but we would like to share it at one of our future meetings, because we would like it to happen again. And Marianne took the lead on that one. That was back over a year ago. So it was very successful as a collaboration with the Bozeman, was it the Bozeman City Parks and Recreation? Yes. So we would like to share that in more detail, but a lot of the information is on our website. So speaking of our website, it has undergone a very wonderful update and revision. Kelly and May Schlotzhauer have been working on it all through the summer, and I would just like them to have a few moments to share with us what are some of the special new things that we should be looking at on the website in the near future, or that is presently available to us now.
Okay, well, hello, everybody. It's great to say that the website is up and running. It's A4ArtEducation.org, and it has been recently refreshed and will be updated in a continuing basis now that we have some of the technical things figured out. It's been great working with May because she brings her professional experience and her expertise, her skills, her youthful enthusiasm to our group. And May has a degree in bachelor's degree in art in Japanese and a master's in Asian art history. And May, maybe you can say what your prior job was before you became a volunteer for us.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I first want to say it's a privilege to work with these art educators who are making such an impact on our community and doing so much for kids and I mean, really the future. So I'm thrilled to be here. I was previously working professionally for a trade association for architectural lighting designers. So I have a little bit of insight, I guess, into some of the technical things that Kelly, who is my mother, is describing. But I guess before she kind of gets into the specifics on the website update, I just want to comment that we are still working on it, and there are more improvements and more resources, and we hope to make a more robust photo library and so on and so forth. So yeah, there better things are on the way, but we are making progress. So anyway, it's nice to meet everyone, and thank you.
And
If you
Oh.
go to our website, you will be able to see our mission statement,
Mhm.
our vision statement, and then ways that you can become part of and volunteer. You can sign up for emails. You can become a member. You can donate if you'd like to donate funds, or maybe tell us about other things that you're interested in. As we post upcoming projects and we ask for people who want to be volunteers, you'll see that on the website. Maybe you'll want to be a corporate sponsor at some point. And then we'll sort of have an archive of projects and photos as we develop our projects, and hopefully a newsletter that you can receive when you sign up for our emails. So those are all the things that we hope you can do, and that you will support the arts in this community, which really have a long history of being part of the Bozeman and Greater Gallatin Valley community. So we're looking forward to helping that continue.
And I posted that link to our website in the chat as well. It's pretty easy. It's A4ArtEducation.org, and 4 is the number 4, but it's there for reference as well.
Okay, I see a question. Mike, is there a question there on the bottom of the screen?
There is. Would you like me to read that for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, this comes in the Q&A. Could there be a way to share the Haven drawings with the community without identifying the maker?
Okay, I will defer to Kelly and Chaucer on that one.
Well, we talked about this at length, and really feeling that a child might want to draw some things that would actually disclose their identity. And so I think that we had to leave that really in Haven's hands. And I think Chaucer, they really felt that they could give us feedback on what the children said and how much they appreciated it, but they pretty much declined to share the drawings.
Yeah, at the beginning of the project, in coordinating with Haven, the agreement was that we would provide sketchbooks and materials and not ask for anything in return. In terms of, they wouldn't be obligated to disclose drawings, identities, names, and things like that. They have a number of privacy issues they're dealing with all the time. So I think that's their protocol. In the future, we would definitely like to do that. If we do another sketchbook project with a different audience, we certainly would encourage people to post them on social media, hashtag A4Art, and showcase some artwork on the website. So we'll do what we can with that.
Okay. Thank you, Chaucer. Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to move on, and then at the end of our meeting, we will have an open Q&A or open comment session. So if you do want to wait until everyone is finished talking and have a general question, we have some time set aside for your questions and concerns. The next item on the agenda is one thing that we have been nurturing over the last few years are partnerships. Partnerships with, for instance, First Security Bank, partnerships with the schools, partnerships with the university system. And because I came out of that university system, the partnership with Montana State University is very important to me personally, but also because it has a wonderful opportunity to be a partner with our arts community. And Paul Waldom is here with us this evening. He is currently the person who is organizing and managing the art education curriculum and system at MSU. I retired in 2018, and that's why this nonprofit is keeping me busy. So, Paul, some of the things that you and I have talked about over the years, as far as how can MSU and the teacher education program link in important ways to the school community, especially, well, starting out with Bozeman, Belgrade. And then we also reached out to some of our other school district where we have practicum and student teaching partnerships. So can you give us an update on what's happening with MSU and how MSU and the Department of Education, art education specifically, is making things better for kids?
First of all, I would like to say my roots go deep at MSU. I'm an MSU graduate, taught in Wyoming a K-12 program, and I was fortunate to teach in a district that had I think it was 13 elementary art teachers. So it was very exciting, and I was thrilled when I had the privilege of working with Priscilla and visiting and then taking over the art methods classes that I'm teaching. We have a rich program, and it's exciting to see our students in the community, student teaching, doing practicum, doing volunteer work, even in the galleries in town. So we're getting the education students out there. And we're also looking forward to this spring to do more. We're excited to be able to continue working with A4Art, such as this Story Mansion project, and getting them out in firsthand experience. We were very, very excited and privileged to be able to work with Mary Ann at Montfortin. Oh gosh, I think that was 3 years ago or whatever. And to get our students out in the community with teachers such as Mary Ann and at the high school here in Bozeman and Belgrade, so they get a chance to visit what does the education look like in the arts, and then get them into the practicums, get them into the student teaching field. We've got a lot of students going out there now where they're going over the hill to Livingston, other areas, even in rural Montana, and we're so thrilled to be seeing them in the community working with the teachers around the area.
Another gift that Paul brings to the Advocates for Art organization, nonprofit, is that he was in Wyoming, I believe it was Gillette, Wyoming, an art coordinator or an administrator for the district. So he brings that perspective to our organization that I think is very vital in order to make us successful. And I don't know if any of those experiences have helped you in the last few years with your work at Montana State University in terms of collaborations.
Absolutely, Priscilla. I remember Mary Ann was talking about the national standards. I was at the revealing of the new national standards, and I think it was 2014 in San Diego. So I was at the beginning stages of seeing all this, and it's so exciting to see this thread carry on with the school districts around the country, as well as here in our community, in the local classrooms, and something that we work very hard to promote in our education programs in our all the areas of the departments.
So having that perspective, I think, is an important aspect to our understanding as a nonprofit as to how our mission, our rationale, how all our goals will actually be successful in the school districts. We have to keep the structure of the school district in mind when we're trying to come up with signature assignments. MSU's field placement program sends student teachers beyond Gallatin Valley, which is one of the things that, even though our nonprofit is focused on Gallatin Valley, well, as some of you know, I was on the road to Three Forks, Ennis, White Sulphur Springs, Livingston, Prairie, Montana, Gardner. I was lucky I had a very, very sturdy vehicle in those 30 years. And I just sold the car, so it did last 30 years. It was a good vehicle. But we have to be aware of the fact that, we are a very diverse community in this part of the state. And so how we function as a nonprofit, we need to be aware of those distinctive characteristics when we do come up with a signature assignment or some kind of an event that we can participate and sponsor to benefit our young artists in the community for sure. So thank you, Paul. Okay, well, that brings our formal presentations to a conclusion. Are there any members of the board that would like to comment or add to what we've already shared with our audience this evening? Did I miss anything?
I have a comment. So I'm the mother of a 2-year-old, so I'm starting to think about, what his education is going to look like and everything. And so I really enjoyed seeing Mary Ann's presentation, and I hadn't thought of arts education as a progression in that way before. Although, I mean, obviously it is, but I thought it was very interesting how you laid that out. So yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, May. Thank you. Well, and as a person who started out as a high school art teacher, and like I always remind myself, I worked my way up to early childhood art education. And that's what I did. Primarily my dissertation research about was with children ages 3 through 8. And that's where I learned a good deal about how that progression starts and grows, and with the right kind of nurturing, blossoms, and it stays with us for the rest of our lives, which is wonderful. We have a great, great opportunity here to benefit the children of this community for sure. So thank you, May. Are there any questions? Any people who...
Can I interrupt for a second?
Oh, yes.
To say one thing. And I'm so happy to be with all of you tonight. It's just great to see everybody and to be able to work towards this important mission together. So it's just great. And I did want to say that with one of the things that we're working on recently, we developed an action plan for the next year-ish. And one of the main goals is to set up committees that will then work on projects and report back to our executive committee. So if anybody in the audience, or if you know anyone that might be interested in serving on one of these committees, it's not as much of a commitment as being a board member, but it would be really wonderful to have other people in the community help us conduct research or help at an event or give us advice, work with finances, help with fundraising. Our committees are basically outreach committees and financial committee, and help me if I'm forgetting, a one on, our media presence and an ability to reach out to our constituents and to network. And also there's one more committee which I can't think of right now, but yeah, so if anybody's interested in helping out, we would just love to get more people involved.
Yes, I agree, Mary Ann. And one of the things both you and May have made me remember is we would really like to connect with parents in our communities who have concerns. And that's why if you know of anybody, or if someone goes to the website, please send us an email. The email address is there, and let us know. They're all of us here to listen to you. We want to know what parents are thinking. And the other group that I would really like to hear from are elementary classroom teachers. What are they thinking about in terms of how can we provide authentic visual arts learning experiences for children in the kindergarten through 5th grade. So please, we're here to listen. We have the website. We would love to hear from you. Again, either an email or our address is there. We have a mailbox at the post office if you'd like to send us a handwritten letter. we will be here to listen to your ideas and your thoughts. So please, please let us know what you're thinking. Got to keep us going. So we're hoping that we'll have new voices and new ideas for our next public meeting in the future. Okay, are there any other concerns or questions that?
You can sign up for the newsletter on the website,
Yes.
and you can also make donations on the website.
Yes. Okay, I see one question in the Q&A.
I can read that for you.
Okay.
What is the strategy to advocate for and get certified art teachers into the other school districts' elementary schools? It seems like the parents would be valuable to advocate and demand for this.
Yes. Okay, I have my agenda on that one, but I'm going to leave it up to my colleagues to go first, and then I'll summarize.
Well, maybe I'll start, but I think
Okay.
it really has to come from the parents and the teachers.
Mhm.
Because we are talking about staffing issues. And I think the teachers totally support. I haven't met a teacher yet that doesn't support the idea of having an art teacher in the schools, but the parents really have to support it too by talking to their administrators and talking to their schools and trying to make that happen. And the schools over the years have a long history of trying to raise funds. Hawthorne and Longfellow and other schools have really tried hard, and the parents have been very generous. And so now we're waiting for a little bit more structure within the school districts, and we're there to support that, as other groups do, as the Friends of Music do. So they're not telling them what to teach. That's a state standard, but they help raise the funds for special projects and to keep those programs going. So we also have talked to them quite a bit, and they're very supportive about what we're doing. And they set a nice precedent for a group that supports the arts in the schools, but it really does have to come from the community. So we're hoping, I think some of our signature products will kind of awaken again after this long COVID thing, the needs, and as we can get more involved in our schools and see what our children need, and hopefully those projects will kind of bring parents and teachers in. So that's one way, I think.
Yes. Anyone else? Mary Ann?
I would just second that, Kelly, because I think that I know for a fact that I am there is a certified teacher, which happened to be me at the time at Montfort, because of a parent survey that was collected and presented to the board. So that can happen. And then I would add to that pressure on school boards. Communicating with school boards is one of the best ways to reach out, and the more that the parents and the community reach out to the school board directly, the more it's just like the squeaky wheel gets the juice. It's like they have to hear that it's wanted. And I think many people, from what I have experienced, are just really not aware that there are no visual arts teachers. I can't even count how many times people have said, really? Bozeman doesn't have any visual arts teachers? I thought they did, So it is just something, we need to get out there, and we need to start spreading the news. And so that's a really good question.
Yes.
Another thing we've talked about is having art shows with students' work, and having an event where parents and kids and friends and people can go and see the artwork and make the visual arts more visual, and just play a more critical role in the public.
After 30 years teaching here at Montana State University and another 10 years before that at the University of Iowa, one of my jobs was to teach the methods course for the visual arts to those students who wanted to be classroom teachers. And the lesson that I learned was that those students who were preparing to be third grade teachers, fourth grade teachers, kindergarten teachers, have a huge, huge agenda. They have to teach pretty much everything. So if the Bozeman School District can provide elementary music teachers, elementary health enhancement teachers, why can't they provide certified, licensed visual arts teachers as well? Just to take the burden off of the classroom teachers so that they can focus on many of the new things that classroom teachers are expected to handle now, especially during the COVID epidemic, and there'll probably be some repercussions after, if it ever does come to an after. But our classroom teachers are just being overwhelmed right now, and this could be one way that we could give them a break. Just some time, planning time, time to go get a cup of coffee, just some time on a regular, scheduled basis. Anything else? Well, we're getting close to 8 o'clock, so that should be the end of our meeting. Am I correct, Mike?
That is correct, yep. And if anyone in the audience does have questions, you can raise your hand with the little hand icon and I can unmute you.
Okay.
If there are more questions.
Okay, I see on my chat 21.
I think that's just our chat.
Okay, our chat, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't want to miss out on anyone's thoughts or ideas that might inspire us.
I think everything is addressed there.
Okay, thank you.
Priscilla,
Well,
Thanks for watching.
yes,
yes, I would like to just add the benefits of a K-12 program are enormous. Where they have the visual arts in the elementaries from K-6 is what we had, and then the junior high school, because it's a tier for them to go ahead and get the creativity and innovation going at a young age, the critical thinking that builds year after year. And as Chaucer was saying, the art shows, we did have a big art show where it was a K-12 program, and it was amazing, the quality of the work from all levels of education because of a strong K-12 program. So I'm very behind it. So thank you for the opportunity to be involved.
thank you, Paul. Your perspective is very valued in this group. Thank you so much. Oh, and Paul, one of the things I'll probably send you an email, but I need to be a guest speaker at one of your classes next spring. So I'm not quite sure how things will go. I am a guest speaker for some education courses in late November and early December. So I'll see how that goes. And if the rules and regulations are still the same next spring, I'm willing to give a presentation wearing a mask. I have got some really cool masks.
We would love to have you.
Okay, so we'll set something up. I did it before. We can do it again. It's just we might have to do some socially distancing and follow the rules that MSU has put into place. So, as I think I said to somebody, wearing a mask makes me look 10 years younger, so why should I complain? Okay, it's the time to say goodbye and wrap it up. Yes. Okay, have we covered everything? Thank you. I think this made a wonderful, wonderful first public meeting. I really feel like we've come back, and hopefully one of our future meetings will be face-to-face in one of the lovely locations that we have used in the past. And thank you again, Mike, for making the impossible possible.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night.